Today, we're going to talk about proactive and reactive strategies that we can use for interventions and behavior management. All right, and we have most of you attended my first workshop. That's great. So today we're going to do something a little bit old school. I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down 3, 2, 1. So 3 things that I learned today, 2 strategies that I will use, and 1 question I still have after the workshop. And at the end of the workshop, I would like you guys to share a little bit about your 3, 2, 1. So I hope that's going to help you more purposely when you use the strategies in your session. All right, you good? Everybody write down. Give me a thumbs up if you write down. Okay, cool. And since we're having a very small group today, feel free to turn on your camera so we can have a little more interaction. And I can see your faces. All right. So in the last workshop, we ended in the ABC data collection. We talk about ABC, right? And we talk about the pattern, tracking the pattern of the behavior. We talk about knowing the function of the behavior. And we talk about using some strategies for the behavior intervention. Does anyone knows what is ABC or what ABC stands for? You can type it in the chat box or you can call it out. Wait, Rebecca Lee, can you please repeat that? What do you want me to repeat, Rebecca? Oh, the 3, 2, 1. Okay, so 3 things that I learned today. 2 strategies that you want to use in your session, and 1 question that I still have. Okay. Right here. Okay, you got it?
Shan, I can try about ABC.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Tsai.
Okay. A is antecedent before the behavior, and B stands for behavior, and C means the consequences after the behavior.
Excellent. That's right. You got it. Yes. So A stands for antecedent. What happened right before the behavior? B stands for the behavior, the action that we actually can see. C stands for consequence. What happened as a result of the behavior, or what's our response to the behaviors? And for us to manipulate the behavior, right? Our ultimate goal, everything is behavior. Speaking is behavior. Looking at the teacher is a behavior. Sitting on the chair now, participating in the workshop, they're all behaviors, right? So we want to either increase the desired behavior or decrease the undesired behaviors. So we're going to manipulate the antecedent and the consequence. Then we can manipulate what's in the middle, right? The behaviors. So today's topic, we're going to cover 3 things. The first one is for us to define and use the proactive strategies, right? We want to prevent problem behaviors happen, or we want to get instructional control. That's the proactive behaviors. When we're talking about the proactive behavior, we're also going to talk about assessment and using some appropriate assessment to select goals for our students. The last topic, we're going to define and use some reactive strategies, because the consequence is always the components that's going to decrease or increase the behaviors. So this is going to be our 3 topics. Okay, so proactive strategies, that's basically antecedent interventions. All right. And also, I want to let you know about antecedent intervention is basically helping us as teachers or therapists to get the instructional control, right? Because when you're working with students, you probably come across that students always have the same reactions or response or behavior to certain toys, certain directions, certain people, right? And they kind of repetitive. How can we manipulate the antecedent, meaning the environment, the events, the toys, right, to increase or decrease certain behaviors? And we have some strategies, we have some solutions, and I have 8 strategies for you to use in your session. The first one is sterilizing the environment. The second one is manipulating the ammo. The third one is pairing. The fourth one is use the first 10 language. The fifth one is using easy hard tasks. The sixth one is offering choices. The seventh one is knowing the precursor behaviors. And the last one is using the visual support. Does anyone know, any items on the list, or try to give an example? Because we are a very small group today, so we can have more conversations. That's going to help you to practice the terms too, because you're here to, learn the ABA terms, right? Anyone want to try?
So is offer choice like you're giving your students 2 activity that they would like to participate and let them choose, instead of like giving them one and they don't want to do it, then they throw tantrums?
Yes, that's right. That is a very effective strategies. That's one of it. Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So, okay. So the first one, we're going to talk about sterilizing the environment. That's very important to get instructional control. If we have like very messy environment, we have messy toys, we probably not going to gain any instructional control, right? So for us to have that environment, sterilizing environment, meaning that we will have very clean and control the space for our ABA sessions. That means that we'll minimize distractions, right? Do not have too many toys around your working areas. You have to structure and organize the shelves and containers, right? Like look at the picture on the shelf. You don't have things all over the place. They're all well organized. The kid's gonna know that he's gonna take the toys from the shelf, right? Put it on the table to work, finish the work, and put it back on the shelf. So that he can predict what's gonna happen, right? That's very important for students. If a student can predict what's gonna happen, he's most likely to cooperate and have less problem behaviors. If there are too many distractions, the directions are so confusing for them, having problem behavior is likely to occur more frequently. Organizing your toys, right? Using those Ziploc bags or using the container, each bags that clearly defined, right? If that container is for cars, he's gonna know that a car is gonna go inside that container. If you have a container for arts and crafts, or you have a container for balls, you have a container for blocks, when you give a direction, say, okay, let's go play blocks, he's gonna be able to walk to the shelf and get that container of blocks and play with you, right? Then we will have a very successful following one-step direction. We have a very successful skill of scanning toys, right? Those are all things that you can really work on in your home environment, even in the classroom environment. Have a very consistent routine. Try to establish a routine with your student. If you have a 2 hours ABA session, you probably want to start same thing every day. Start with maybe singing in the morning, and next thing is playing some easy toys, then have a break. Have that consistency of each activities, so the student can predict what's going to happen, so he can cooperate. Very often, our student doesn't want to cooperate not because they self-directed, it's also because our instruction or the parents' instruction is not clearly defined. So have that consistency of routine. It's going to help the student to comprehend what's going to happen and how to follow directions. Have appropriate materials, right? A lot of students don't have appropriate materials at home. Try to help the parent to eliminate some not appropriate materials and just have some limited options while we're working with a student. Also, keep in mind about the individual preference, right? Consider individual preference and sensory needs. Some individual might have preference for specific lightings, seating arrangement, or sensory input. So keep the accommodation for the student so you can have that catering, pampering environment for the student. For example, I have a student, he really likes soft stuff. So in my session, I provide him a soft blanket on his chair that help him to ease out the stress of sitting or working. So that works well for me. And the other strategy is to manipulate MO. MO means motivation, right? If there's no motivation, the student is not going to learn. He's going to leave. So catching that motivation is very important. How do we know the student has the MO, has the motivation? If he has the motivation to your choice, to your direction, he will look at that toys, right? He will visually attend the toys, or he will physically grab the toys or approach to you. Those are the signs showing that the student has the MO. But how can we, as a therapist, knowing to manipulate the MO? So I'm going to give you an example. For example, if I want to work on requesting for water, I want to teach the kid to say water to make that request. I might give him some pretzels. I might give him some chips to eat. After eat the pretzels and the chips, he's going to be a little bit thirsty. So the chance of him to repeat the word water or request water will be higher, right? Now, water is more valuable after you eat chips and pretzels. Same thing you can think of when you go to Costco and you buy in bulks, right? You buy those croissants in a large container, they're gonna taste less delicious. But if you go to Paris, go to that bakery and you get that croissant for one time, you're gonna crave for it all the time because it's so hard for you to get that one croissant. So that even though they croissant, their value is the difference. So you know, when you work with the student, think about that. If you're gonna use cookie or you're gonna use chips in your sessions as reinforcers, you're gonna tell the parent to hide them, right? Because if the student have easy access to them and they can have it over the kitchen counter, they can have it anytime they want. When you want to use them in your session, they're not gonna be valuable. Same thing with the toys, right? If you want to use that toy as a reinforcer in your session, you're gonna hide it when you're not there, right? So that's how you manipulate the MO, the motivation. The other strategy, we talk about it, pairing. Pairing is just the most important thing that you should do when you walk into the student's house or when you sit with a student and you want to start working on your targets. Pairing is just a process for you to build that rapport with the student. You're playing with the student, you are giving him toys, you're giving him attentions, you're giving him edibles. You basically make yourself like Disneyland for him, right? And you limit your directions. Don't have him to sit down, look at me, you know, give me a high five in all the directions. Just play with him. Make yourself like Disneyland. It's so much fun. So in that scenario, in that situation, the student will be way more cooperated and the problem behavior will just decrease significantly. So every time when you start your session, spend 10 to 15 minutes working on the pairing. Build that rapport before you start to give your directions. Use first then language. That's also help the student to understand that they have to work first and then get the rewards, right? They have to learn that reward doesn't come for free. They have to learn to follow rules. And they also can predict that after I work, I'm going to get the reward. So they're going to quickly pick up the first then language if you practice with them. That also would eliminate some problem behaviors. And using easy, hard strategies also very effective. This is how we set our student up to success. In Chinese, we're going to say 全是套路, right? You set him up for success. Easy. You build up that behavior momentum. You build up that confidence, right? Because students, they don't like to make mistakes. And we don't like to make mistakes too. If I keep making mistakes, I'm failing the courses, I'm going to lose my confidence, I'm going to give up, and I'm not going to cooperate, right? Think about that same thing to our student. Easy, and then you present your targets, right? Use your tricks to help them to build the confidence and behavior momentum. Offer choices. That is going to help you to increase engagement. Because when you offer the choice, they learn to scan, they learn to reduce the resistant and oppositional behaviors. They feel that they can control. Because these kids, they're quite self-directed. They like to take control. So offer the choices for them so they can take control. And you're also helping them to develop the decision-making skills, right? Think about it, you give them two options, they have to make a choice. So you're actually helping them to have that critical thinkings, and they have to scan, they have to look, they have to participate. And when they make a choice, give them a compliment, say, oh, good job, that's a good choice. Now you're building that sense of respect and trust, right? That's again, you're building that rapport with the student. That's very important because many of the students don't have the social skill. They need that back and forth encouragement. The other strategy is knowing the precursor behaviors. That's again instructional control, right? Who should control the session? You or the student? You should control the session. So before he has a meltdown, we usually can see some minor behaviors such as grunting, whining, maybe pushing the work away, trying to get up from the chair. So maybe knowing how long a student can tolerate, right? If he cannot tolerate a task for more than a minute, I might give him a break in 30 seconds, right? I will give him a small break. So I can give him the break. I'm in control rather than the student got up, he cried, he escaped, and now he's controlling my session. So knowing your student is very important. Knowing when he's gonna give up, when he's cannot tolerate anymore is very important. Let's see. Giving the visual support. So like this picture, if we want to teach the student sorting, you might manipulate some, visual cues, right? Give him the dot of the blue color. It's going to help him to match the blue color, right? Giving that visual cue is going to help him to complete that stacking rather than just giving him the verbal cue or gestural cue. If he can visually identify the same color and match it to stack the rings, that's great. That's independent skills. So for this set of materials, we call it structure play, right? This teacher, she used a box. She cut out the hole for the rings, and it's clearly defined that which color should go to which hole, and the kid's gonna know that to work from left to right. It's very structured, so the student would not have a lot of chance to make an error, right? Even if you're gonna use hand over hand support for him, it's very easy for you to teach because everything is set up. So again, antecedent intervention is us getting that instructional control. We are designing the environment. We are designing the toys so we can eliminate eliminating the error a student can make. Right? Does anyone have any questions regarding to the strategies that I mentioned above? Okay, if not, we're gonna do an activity. Let's try it. Can you see the screen? Can you see the poll? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone 3 minutes to answer the question. All right. So Tommy is a 2.5-year-old child with autism who is participating in the New York City Early Intervention Program. In one of his AB sessions, the therapist attempt to use Cookie to work on Tommy's requesting skills. Tommy managed to say "cool" once, but then he quickly lost interest and moved to the other side of the living room to play with the toys. Think about some antecedent interventions or proactive strategies that you can use in your next session to promote success, right? So now Tommy lost interest and he moved to the other side of the room to play with toys. What can we do to eliminate that escape behavior, to increase his attentions or increase his attending to task skills? I'm going to give everyone some time, maybe 3 more minutes to answer. All right, 1 more minute, guys. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone 30 seconds to finish up. Ready. Okay. All right, so let's see what everyone say. Can you see my result? Give me a
No.
no. Okay.
No, not for everyone's result. I saw my own answer, but not everybody else.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay, so the first one said giving him break time in advance and set up a timer to prompt him to come back. Okay, that's a good one, right? Give him a break in advance before he leaves and set a timer to prompt him to come back. Great strategy. Thank you. Let's see. The second one, remove toy or have Tommy in a quiet place where there are no distractions. Offer more variable for Tommy to keep his attention. That's another great one. We need a lot of toys to engage a student. Having that one toy is not going to be enough for our toddler. Okay, good. And quiet place with no distraction. Again, right? Very clear and controlled environment. Good job. All right. The other one, I will make cookies as a reward after Tommy successfully finished one activity, such as stacking up tiles. Okay, that's good. And I will make him to request that cookie, right? Because our goal is for him to say cook or cookie, right? Don't forget to work on that requesting. Okay, next one. Ask mom not to give Tommy these cookies on a regular basis so it can be saved for the session instead. That's a great one. We are manipulating the MO, right? Limit the amount that he can have during the daytime so he can crave for more cookies in our session. Very good. Show reinforcers. Okay, next one. Show reinforcer that Tommy likes to keep him in the spot. Then try to promote him to say cookie again with slow speed. Very good. Yes, we want to show more reinforcer that he likes so we can keep him in the spot with us, right? Have cookie, have chips, have gummy bear, have cars, have bubbles, have everything with you. Not only work with cookie, but work on something else. Bubbles, right? Blow the bubble for him. Or play the car back and forth with him, do the crushing game with him so you can keep him engaged so he won't leave. That's a great one. Okay, the last one I have. The therapist can sterilize the environment or present possibility another favorite snack for Tommy as alternate to increase the chance of him requesting items. Okay, yes, same thing, right? Sterilize your environment, take that control of the environment, and offer more snack. Great job. That's great. Okay, let me check the chat box. Okay, awesome. Awesome, you guys are learning. You're quick learners, awesome. All right. Okay, so when we're using the antecedent intervention or proactive strategies, there are 4 things that we also want to consider, right? The first thing is probably one of the most important thing is to identify goals, right? We want to select appropriate goal for us to teach effectively. So for us to identify goals, we're going to talk about the assessment because only if we use assessments, we can identify what skill a student has and what skill he should work on. The second one is we want to know about why the behavior occur. That is the function of the behavior. So we use the ABC data sheets and we track down the pattern of the behavior to identify the function of the behavior. Sometimes we also use functional behavior assessment to really dive deep to the function of the behavior. But for now, we're not going to do that. If you really want to want me to help you to identify the function of the behavior, I can help you to do that. But for now, taking the ABC data will be enough. The third one is what elicit the behaviors, right? What is the stimulus? What is the event? What is the material? Who elicit the response? We want to identify the environment. We want to identify the environment for that behavior. And the fourth one is in the process of doing that antecedent intervention, what kind of positive behavior we can reinforce on the side to promote more desirable behaviors. Those are all factors that we can consider while we using the proactive strategies, right? Because proactive, think about it, you really, tracking down solutions and reasons so we can prevent the behavior to happen. All right, so there are some assessments and tools that we can use for goal selection. For your EI cases, I would recommend using the DAISY2 and the health checklist. They are developmental assessment tools. They are criterion assessment tools. So this is an example of a DC2 scoring sheet, right? There are some key components I want you to know about. So in the session 1, we will identify some information of the student. So knowing the age in month will be important for us to use the DC2, because that's how we identify where should we start to enter the scores, right? So let's practice a little bit. I know that you're good at math, so that's gonna be easy peasy. So let's, for example, if we test the student today, which is November 21st, 2023, and the student's birthday is on March 17, 2021, we're gonna calculate the age for the student, right? And we're gonna calculate the month for the student. You can type your answer in the chat box for me. I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes to calculate. Okay, got it? Right? Yes, that's right, Rana. It's 32 months. So here we got the month of the student. He's 32 months. So we're going to look at the top of the page. That's where we're going to find the entry point. So 32 months is right here, right? Between 24 months to 35 months. So we're going to start from item 29. So you're going to go to item 29 and you're going to see if the student can perform the skill or he cannot perform the skill. If he cannot perform the skill, he's going to score 0. And then you're going to keep going. When he reach 3, 0, you're going to stop testing because that is going to be his ceiling, right? He already reached the ceiling, so you're going to stop right there. So for this case, we stop at item 31. And then we're going to go back to see his, we're going to find the basal of his skill. So you're going to go back and you're going to test if he can perform the skill. You're going to score, you're going to write down 1 for him. So in this case, we're going to stop when a student reached 3 ones in a row. So right here we have 3 ones and we stop testing because that's his basal. Right, so his basal stops at 25. And we're gonna add the 2 points in the middle before the ceiling. So his score is, what's his score? Can you write it in the chat box for me? Yes, 27, that's right. So his raw score is 27. And then you're gonna check your testing manual. Does anyone have the scoring manual? Give me a thumbs up if you have it. If you don't have it, that's okay. That's something that you need to purchase, and Daisy is quite expensive. It's probably like 400 something. So if you don't have Daisy, that's okay. I'm gonna recommend you using health checklist because that's way cheaper. That's if you go back, his age equivalent is 14 months, and then you're gonna calculate. Well, I mean, you're not going to calculate. You're going to find that in your scoring manual. They're going to show you, and everything is correlated. So the standard score is 76. And then we're going to move on to section 3. You're going to look at the descriptive terms. If his standard score is 76, his skill is going to be poor, right? It's between 70 to 79. So his skill is poor. He's at 32-month-old, but he's functioning as a 14-month-old. That's 50% delay. So that tells you that kid has a lot of things need to be worked on. So that is Stacy. I'm gonna show you a brief video of using health checklists. See.
Okay, Savannah, I need you to bring me the doll and the yellow doll dress.
Can you hear good, or do I need to higher the volume? Can you hear good? Good, okay.
Okay, Savannah, I'm gonna give you 2 markers and you're gonna tell me which one is bigger. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Okay, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna draw 2 lines on the board and you're gonna tell me which one is the longer one. Whenever you're ready. Okay, thank you. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to practice throwing balls and different size smaller objects into a hamper and into the smaller bin. I'll hand you every object and tell you which one to put it in as we go along. First, I want you to stand right here with your toes at the edge of the red tile. And then you can throw this into the hamper. We want to throw it underhand, not overhand.
With both hands?
If you'd like to, yes. Good job, that was great. We're gonna go one more time with a different ball. This one weighs a little more, so we'll see how it goes. Good job. Now we're gonna move on to throwing smaller objects. So I have 2 pairs of socks, a foam baseball, and a toy pig for you to practice with. We'll start by having you stay right where you're at and throw the socks into the taller hamper. Good job. Next, we'll have you throw the socks into the smaller bin to your left, the yellow one, and you can line yourself up with it if you'd like. Good job. Next, we're gonna throw the pig, but let me grab the socks out. Good job. Now all we have left to throw in is the baseball. Good job. That was a great job, Savannah. We're gonna try to make it a little more challenging for you and have you take about 1.5 to 2 feet step back, which you already have done, which is great. So we're gonna do the same thing and throw that ball underhand into the hamper whenever you're ready. Good job. We're gonna try this one, but let me grab the other out of the hamper real quick. Whenever you're ready. Next, we're gonna do the same thing again if you wanna line yourself up with the smaller bin. We'll start with the socks.
That's a lot of skills. Because
Try the
the
pig.
child is standing very far from the targets
Good job.
and
And
throwing it
baseball.
balls in very small containers, right? That's gross motor skill.
Good job. You did a great job today. Thank you. But you really like the movie Cars, so I've got Tow Mater here, and we're gonna pick him up off the ground, okay? All you have to do is copy after me. So there he is down there. There we go. Good job. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna try to walk backwards for 10 feet. We'll start right here, and then we'll go back 5 squares until we get to this doorway.
Can you show me?
Yes. I'm gonna go right like this. And stop at the doorway there. We don't want you to go too far. Whenever you're ready. There you go. So I heard you really like flamingos. Well, you know how they always stand on one leg? We're gonna try that today. We're gonna count together to see how long we can stand up like that for. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now we're gonna switch legs and we're gonna see if you can stand up like that a little longer this time. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good job. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is you're gonna walk down the stairs and pretend that there's a big bucket of your favorite toys down there. We're gonna just walk down to grab some, okay? Really good. Next time you go down the stairs,
All right, I'm gonna stop right here. I'm gonna share the PowerPoint and feel free to review the assessment, the health checklist if you want. Those testing items I do use them daily because as an SI, we do need to look at all 5 development domain of the student. So we look at the cognitive, the communication, the social emotional, the motor skills. So include the gross motor skills, the fine motor skill, and the adaptive skill. That's the daily living skill, the self-help skills. So those testing items, I know some of them, some of you guys might be interested being an evaluator or something. Feel free to look up the informations online or on YouTube. Yeah, they're still related to our field. They're not far off. Okay. And again, Hawaii early learning profile is way cheaper than Daisy2 and it's very easy to use. So if you want the assessment, I would recommend this one for you to make the purchase. All right, and for your ABA case, I would recommend you to use VBMap or ABLES. We don't have much time to expand on them today because we only have 15 minutes left. So if you have any questions or you want me to help you to use the assessment tools or help you to assess your student, schedule a one-to-one session with me for those who work for Aspiring Munchkins, and I will help you and guide you to use those assessments and hopefully to help you to select target for your student effectively, because we want to work on some prerequisite skills. We want to work on the behavioral goals before we move to more advanced goals, right? If we don't have a solid foundation for a student, it's very hard for us to build on top of what they don't have, right? If we don't have foundation, we can't build on it. So that's very important for us. We're gonna talk about the reactive strategies, the consequent intervention. That is how we respond to the behaviors. The consequence is the reason a behavior will increase or decrease. What do we want to increase? We want to increase the desired behaviors, the good behaviors, the behaviors that we want. And we want to decrease the undesired behaviors, right? The problem behaviors. So we have to be very careful with our response, right? With our consequence. And that's why we have the topic regarding to this kind of intervention. So there are a few things that you can keep in mind, right? These are some terms or intervention that you can use. The first one is extinction. We talked about it in our last workshop. The second one is to keep demands on, ignore. That's plan to ignore, right? We purposely ignore that behavior. Teach man, that's teach the student to make requests. Differential reinforcement, we have DRA, DRO, DRI, DRH, DRL. I will explain them later. It's a lot, but trust me, it's not that hard. And also adjust reinforcement, right? Adjust reinforcement if you know that, you're ahead of the game. Adjust reinforcement is basically when you hand out reinforcers according to your student's response. If your student needs your full physical prompt, modeling, you're gonna give him less response. So for example, if I want to teach a student to clap your hands, right? If I say, do this, and the student did not respond and I have to grab his hand to clap, then I would say, good job, here's your cracker, right? I would give him a tiny piece of cracker. But if I say, do this, and the student did right away, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw 3 pieces of cracker for the student. So with your response, right, you're differentiating your reaction, you're manipulating your expression, your reinforcers, you can increase the independency and the spontaneous response of the student. That's how you adjust your reinforcement. If you can do that, you're ahead of the game. Your student is ahead of the game. Extinction is for us to withhold the reinforcer. It can be tangible, it can be attention, it can be sensory inputs, right? We're gonna withhold what you like to decrease the problem behavior. For example, if my student keep crying because he wants his grandmother to come downstairs for him, he wants attention and he wants to escape from my activity, I might have the grandma to walk downstairs a few times purposely, but ignore the student. Do not give him the attention. Do not call him. Do not respond to him. Just walk up and down and walk up and down. So in that case, the grandmother shows up, but she did not give attentions or respond to the student. In that case, he will know that the crying, it's not going to work, right? Crying does not get what I want. So that's how we use extinction with how the reinforcers. It can be toys too, right? If he, let's say if he use crying to get the toys, or he just grabbed the toys. I don't want him to grab the toys. I might just ignore him, right? But if he wait and fold his hand, I would say, oh, here you go. You want the toys? There you go. So now you're reinforcing the good behaviors, right? The folding hands and the waiting, or even using word to make requests. But I'm not going to give you the toys if you grab. So now you're using the extinction. Keep the demands on. That's for escape behaviors. We're not going to let him escape, because if every time he uses crying to leave the task, to escape from your direction, and you let him go away from it, he's gonna do that. He's gonna repeat that in your next sessions, right? So even if he use crying, screaming to escape, we're gonna give him physical guidance, physical prompt to make him stay on task, and then reinforce him for doing the task, right? Keep the demands on. Ignore. So ignore is planned ignoring. If student use crying, screaming for attention, right, then we're gonna ignore that behavior, but we will teach the student. Well, in that case, he like the first example I gave you, right, not giving that attention when you cry or scream, right? I only give you the attention when you're good, when you cooperated, when you quiet. Teach the student to make requests, right? For our young children, 90% of the time they have the problem behavior is because they have very limited man repertoire, meaning that they have very limited expressive language to make the request, right? That's why they cry. They can't talk, they can't speak. So for us to eliminate that problem behavior, we have to work on requesting, right? Teach him to say the word or sign the word or use the picture to communicate with you. So we can eliminate that problem behaviors. And now we're gonna talk about the differential reinforcement, the DRA, DRO, DRI. So the first one, DRA, that's differential reinforcement of alternate behavior. So you reinforce appropriate behavior and you have reinforcer for inappropriate behavior. For example, if you are working on man with the student, you guys are working on requesting, you're gonna give him the cookie when he say cookie, but you will not give him the cookie when he grab the cookie, right? Simple as that. You're teaching him an alternate behavior. That's using your words to make requests. DRE. Okay, DRI, differential reinforcement of incompatible behavior. So that's basically you train the kid to do something so that he won't be able to engage in problem behavior. I'm going to use the grabbing again. You're going to reinforce him when he folds his hands on the table, right? You teach him, fold your hands away. So he folds his hands so he cannot grab. So when you fold your hand, you cannot grab. Or you say, put your hands down. When you put your hands down, you cannot grab, right? So teach that incompatible behavior so he won't be able to engage on the problem behavior. Okay, DRO, differential reinforcement of other behavior. So you reinforce any behavior other than the problem behavior. For example, if the problem behavior is screaming, right? Then I will give him a compliment every time when he's not screaming. If he's playing in the car, if he's just playing with a car, I say, oh, good job. You are so quiet. You're playing with a car nicely. If he's quiet, if he's quietly watching iPad, I say, oh, good job. You're watching Cocomelon? Great job. You're so quiet. So, you just reinforce everything except the problem behavior. But there is a disadvantage of that. DRO, because you're not teaching the alternate behavior. So the student doesn't really know what is the appropriate behavior, right? So we always like to teach the DRA and the DRI rather than the DRO, but use the DRO in a natural environment. DRH, differential reinforcement of high rate of the behavior. So you want that behavior to happen more, right? So you would set a criteria. If I want the student to do tracing, right? If you trace 6 out of 10 lines, I will give you the reinforcer, right? But if I present you the worksheet and you only did 2 lines, you're not going to get reinforced. I want a high rate of working, right? Same thing with the toys. If you finish 10 pieces of puzzle, great job. That's my target. You get the reward. But if you take very slow, sloppy job in completing that 10 piece of puzzle or 2 piece of puzzle, you're not going to get that reinforcer. So we want the high rate. We want the quick work. Okay, and differential reinforcement of roll rate of the behavior. Sometimes you want that behavior to slow down. Sometimes you want fast behavior. Sometimes we want low pace of behavior. For example, if your student engage on shoveling food in the mouth, right? Some students like to put everything in their mouth before they can swallow, and we want to slow down that eating process. Then we're gonna reinforce when they eat slowly and nicely, maybe take a bite in every 30 seconds. Then I will give him a reinforcement, right? So that is DRL. And here's the end of our workshop. Did you write down your 3, 2, 1? Okay, I see Alex knock his head. If you want to share, Alex, go ahead.
So I learned more than 3 things. I learned all these terminology, DRA, DRO, DRI, DRH, and DRL. And I feel validated that I'm actually doing some of these in my sessions. And then I think my biggest takeaway is the DAISY 2 the assessment and the health checklist videos. I just have questions about the video. So when they are doing the testing items, they're not supposed to give any prompt, right? So if the kid, so let's say they said walk back 10 foot. So if the kids doesn't have any response, then it will be automatically score 0. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can give a few prompts, like you can model for some of the testing item. They will write something like with prompt or
Okay.
with reminders. So for those, you can, we want to give a few, attempts for the student to see if they can respond. So usually you can try to, give a few reminders. If you try a few times and he still don't respond, then you can give him a 0. Yeah, but look at each items. They're very specific.
Okay, and then I also have one more questions about adjust reinforcement. So let's say that like I'm teaching a student how to wash his hand, and then I have this task analysis, and I break down all the steps, and then whenever the kids can do independently, I just put I, and then whenever kids need like gesture prompts or partial prompts or verbal prompts, I just put VP, and then let's say that this kid cannot scrub with soap, so all this step will be gesture prompt. And then whenever I'm doing the washing hands with him, I'm not helping him with all the steps, but then I'm only helping him with the scrubbing with the soap. So is that just reinforcement?
So that will be chaining, right? Like a task analysis, but I need to look at chaining, and we might need to look at the skill, and we can either use forward chaining with lips, or we might need to use backward chaining. But I want to see your task analysis. I want to see the students' performance, and then we can define which chaining we can do, because you can do backward, you can do forward, you can do total tasks, you can do lips, but I want to see that.
Okay.
Schedule a session to define that.
Thanks.
Right. Yeah. Anyone else want to share? Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Alrighty. So Q&A. Does anyone have questions? Please also scan the QR code to give me a feedback, so I can have your email address, and then I will send you the training certificate, after the workshop. That will be easy for me to collect everybody's email. Does anyone have any questions regarding to today's workshop, or regarding to any cases that you have? Wait, Juana has lots of conceptuology to learn, need to review later on. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you, Juana. All right, anyone have questions? If not, then we finished the workshop on time. All right, I want to thank you all for attending to my training today, and I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you after the holidays.
Thank you, Shanshan.
All right, bye, good night. Oh, you can't scan the code? Can you try to scan the code?